I'm not that smart, I'm not that intelligent, I'm not that good. If I'm good, why shouldn't I read the end of the material? So I closed my eyes trying to recall or see the pages that I had read, but nothing was coming into my mind. All I see was empty, blank. I was shocked. One more dangerous thing happened. I was still at home revising when it's about few hours away to start the exam. So I quickly asked them like, why are you outside when it's about 10 minutes to start the exam? And they replied, the exam already started 20 minutes earlier. Honestly, I can't control how I felt that day. As I was looking at the faces of my classmates writing the exam, I was, observing their faces, which may reflect whether the exam was easy or not. And their faces is not reflecting good news. And what happened was, 3 lecturers are taking the course, but only one of them started early. The remaining 2 didn't start until when it was about 1 to 2 weeks to the exam. So if you look at it, they don't even have a time to write CA for us, making it necessary for us to write 2 CAs on the exam day. That's making it 5 exams the same day. And for anyone who knows the course orthoptics, know how bulky and tricky that course is. But the problem is most optometry schools, including one I attended, can't afford the equipment used to run these practicals, because they are very expensive and they are not used in the clinic as much. So that alone makes the course even more harder than it's supposed to be. Anyway, all the 2 lecturers took 1 to 2 classes, rushing us through topics that we can't understand but further making us confused. And this was about some days to the exam. I couldn't remember the exact dates, but it was few days to the exam. So if you look at it, we don't even have a time to read for the coming exam, let alone read for the 3 sections of this course. So we become so stressed and confused to the extent that some of us have already surrendered that they would have to resit the course. Fortunately, this wasn't the first exams we were going to start, but it comes in the middle. So the lecturers have realized it and they shifted the exam for this course towards the end of the timetable, giving us an interval of 1 week. But that was just the beginning of the story. The week came and we started reading, but we didn't realize we were too late until when we started reading during that week. And the course seemed more difficult and overwhelming than it's supposed to. Seeing that danger, I planned to start reading day and night, almost without sleep. But it even seems like something is dragging me back from reaching the end of the material. So I started thinking like my brain is no longer good as it is. I'm not that smart, I'm not that intelligent, I'm not that good. If I'm good, why shouldn't I read the end of the material? Maybe I have to resit this course. All that kind of negative emotion that comes when you're about to write exams. Anyway, I reached the end of the material at night, and that was the night before the exam at around 3:45 a.m. So after that, I just laid down trying to recall what I read across all the 3 sections. So I feel relieved because I know that I memorized everything. But the next fear was, I tried to recall all that I read across all that 3 sections, but nothing seems to be coming into my mind. I was shocked. I even closed my eyes trying to remember what I read, because they said closing eyes makes you remember something quickly, especially if you memorize something and you want to remember it. If you close your eyes, you remember it quickly. So I closed my eyes trying to recall or see the pages that I had read, but nothing was coming into my mind. All I see was empty, blank. I was shocked. So at that time, I surrendered to Allah. I just prayed that Allah helping me remember all that which I read, I retain it on my memory so that I can pass this exam. And I slept. I slept for 1.5 hours. I woke up early in the morning the next day and started revising what I read the previous night and the days before. I thought the time could be enough for me since because I already memorized it's just revision. But it also doesn't seem to come to an end. One more dangerous thing happened as I was revising. I just found 2 lectures from one section of the course that I didn't read anything on it. And it's about 100 slides. I was like, I did what I can and continued revising. I was still at home revising when it's about few hours away to start the exam. So I quickly rushed and prepared to go to the school so that the remaining part I didn't finish revising, I can revise it when I reach the exam venue, maybe 30 minutes before we start the exam. So I did that. As I reached the exam venue, I saw some of my classmates outside the exam hall and they were chatting while some of them are inside writing the exam. So I quickly asked them why are you outside when it's about 10 minutes to start the exam? And they replied, The exam already started 20 minutes earlier. I was like, why? The examiner said that they are going to minimize time because the exam is going to take 30 hours for us writing it. So they are going to give us different starting times. Well, I know this is against the rules of many universities and departments when it comes to exam, but in case of our department, that was possible. So in the midst of our discussions, we are called to go inside. Inside the exam hall, we were asked to form a queue in order to collect the question paper and the answer booklets. I was the last in the queue because I came last. And what happened was all my colleagues were given the question paper and the answer booklet. But when it comes to my turn, the question paper just finished. And there was no extra one. So they have to go and photocopy it before I can start the exam. While my colleagues are already writing the exam. The examiner said that, come and sit close to me. Now you are my friend. While pacing my classmates writing the exam. Honestly, I can't control how I felt that day. As I was looking at the faces of my classmates writing the exam, I was, observing their faces, which may reflect whether the exam was easy or not. And their faces is not reflecting good news. Everyone is busy writing helter-skelter. And I was like, I kept praying in my mind. Then one idea flashed into my mind. Why shouldn't I continue revising the remaining notes I didn't finish revising? So I quickly brought out my jotter and started reading. But the problem was, I was reading it aloud and I don't know, but not that much louder, just loud enough for the person sitting next to me to hear what I was saying. And what I was reading came out in the exam. So the examiner looked at me and said, and this guy has a problem. And I was like, sir? He said, yes, we have a problem. And I was like, yes. And he said, okay, even believe that you have a problem. Honestly, I thought he means I have a problem of not starting the exam. So I continued reading, but in my mind. Finally, they brought my question paper and I started writing the exam. Guess what? The first question I saw from one of the sections was what I was reading while I was waiting for the question paper. And it attracts 30 marks. So I was like, and I instantly started writing so that nothing escaped from my mind. But to be honest with you, all that which I read the previous night, nothing came out in the exam question. But it did come out in the CA we wrote from one of the packs. I know my classmates from school who are watching this video would have been laughing by now because they remembered what happened that day. So that was how I almost fell in this final exam. What about you? What kind of school do you attend? Do you also have similar experience like this? Please share it with us in the comment section and let's discuss. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if this is your first time coming. I am Doctor Harun. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.